Let's see if it works. You tell me if it's...
Turn on your music from Spotify if you ever do that.
Well, I don't need that for this one. That's only for the trading.
Just remember to do that too.
Now, do you...
Yeah, dude, it's perfect.
Oh, yeah? Okay, now... Oh.
Perfect.
But you can hear me talking because I don't have my mic muted, right? That's okay, though.
Yeah.
So now what? Now watch this.
All right, I'll turn off the phone call.
All right, let's see if we got it right this time. Looks like we have 2 people in the chat. Wow, it's a new record. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Mr. Joseph Trades, Chart Talk Live on a Sunday evening. All right, well, we're going to take a look at a few things tonight. First of all, how was everyone's weekend? Mine was great. I hope yours was. I got to spend some time with my mom and dad, and I got to watch Georgia finally come through against Alabama. Quite shocking, but glad it happened. If anybody has a question about anything I'm doing tonight on this Chart Talk live stream, please figure out how to ask a question, and I'll do my best. You know how to ask a question. I hopefully know how to answer it. It says technical difficulties have been figured out. Now time to look at the technicals. And these are the technicals that I know about, called technical analysis. So let's start with the overall context of the market. This is my 4-hour chart. We're looking at a chart of the E-mini NASDAQ futures. I trade NASDAQ futures daily. You can tune in pretty much every day when I'm available. I try to be here as much as possible in the mornings and trade the opening of the New York session. And if price action is good, I go a little bit longer, but just something you can check out if you're interested. Well, let's take a look at the chart here. This is a 4-hour chart of the NASDAQ futures. On my charts, the up bars are white and the down bars are gray. And I'm looking at the overall market context. Last week on my live stream, well, not my live stream about trading, but this one, last week on my chart talk, let's see, we were right about here. Let's see, where was it? Yeah, I did this about right here last week. And I had mentioned, and you can go back and look at the stream if you want to, it's only 43 minutes long, a good investment of your time. I mentioned that price might try to take the buy side liquidity of these 2 moderate swing highs, and sure enough, that's what happened this week. When you get swings, what do I mean by swings? Swings are areas on a chart where it's real easy to see reversals happen. You can think of it that way. Sometimes you can, when you're using a big chart like the 4-hour, if you switch to a line chart, it can help you really see major swings. You're going to have major swings and minor swings. So obviously something like this is a major swing, and you've got minor swings along the way. It's sometimes tricky because at the time you don't know when something's major or minor, but with practice you get a feel for these things. And so, one of the good things about looking at charts is it's based on how you perceive the information. So there's a lot of creativity that you get to inflict upon the charts, but all charts are is just an indication of what's happened, and it's up to you to interpret them. So anyway, I'll give you some insight into how I'm interpreting these charts right now. So if we look at this, where we are right now, we're above this purple line. This purple line is the 200 EMA. That's called an exponential moving average. And we're sort of at a critical level for the overall market. NASDAQ futures are a proxy for the overall market, because a lot of times market leadership is really led by the technology companies. Oh yes, we have M. Neiman 91. We will get a Bitcoin chart review. Welcome to the chart. Mr. Joseph Trades wants to welcome everyone here. Just trying to get some analysis of the charts here. So where are we now? Well, we just took this swing high that I mentioned last week, and you saw some selling happen. And how do you know selling happened? Well, do you see this gray candle right here? And do you see this really long wick above it? What happened is when price came and tested the high of this bear candle, it took a lot of liquidity, which is basically a lot of orders, and price could have either kept rotating up or it could reverse down. And for the short time, it took people who had buy stops in for moves going higher, and we got a bearish reaction. You see what it did. It went up there, and it got a lot of orders for people looking to go long on the continuation past the swing high. And sometimes that'll happen, but most of the time when you have a big swing, you're going to at least get a little pause. And so looks like that's where we're at currently. Although the overall context, this looks like a relentless bull channel, if you ask me. See this? I'm going to use my wonderful trend lines here. Yeah, there's the lower bound of the channel. It's like we have a upper bound just like so. So price has been sort of moving in a tight, relatively choppy channel for the entirety of the past week. A lot of chop because you can see these overlapping bodies of these candles. Keep in mind, this is the 4 hours, so it really filters out a lot of the noise. You see a lot of overlapping bodies. You see a lot of wicks. Check that out. Look at this stretch. Check that out. So just really nothing going on. That's 16 hours worth of price action. And you've got the overlapping bodies of the candles, and you've got wicks on both sides of the candle indicating indecision. When you see something like this, where it's a real small body, and then you have an upper and a lower wick, that indicates indecision by market participants. And so, you know, that this type of price action is a little challenging to trade because there's not a real clear impulsive movement. It just sort of grinds, and it can be a little tricky, no question about it. There are definitely more favorable conditions to trade in, but it can be done with experience. I would just caution you to really understand what the charts are telling you, and to place the highest probability bets or trades. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Mr. Joseph Trades here. Just going to talk a little charts for some time. I guess as long as people are on here, we'll keep this thing going. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. Just going over the overall market context, we're in a bull channel. Price just tested this swing high, and we're waiting to see if we get a bullish continuation higher this week. We could potentially keep rotating higher to some of these bear candles. There's liquidity there, or we might get a pause. We might get a rotation lower to test the EMA. Anything can happen in the charts. When you're trading, you can't come in with any notion that you know exactly what's going to happen. You just have to look at what's gone on and see where the fuel and the pain lies. And no, I have not. Hey, Super T in the house. Super T, hola. Super T, one of the best technicians ever encountered. in any pharmacy anywhere. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. It's wonderful to see you. I remember Super T one time. Yes, thank you, doctor. I remember Super T one time. We were trying to get her into trading some Forex, and she devised a little strategy based on the time of day. It was pretty interesting. It was working out for her. So that's another thing about trading. Whatever you find works for you, and if you believe in it, you can make money off the charts. It's just a matter of being disciplined and following your rules and trusting your data. And getting the data and trusting it is really the hard work about trading. It's a road not many go down, but if you do, you can be rewarded. So, oh yeah, well, it's true, Super T. It's true. I wouldn't just be saying that. It's the honest truth. Okay, so where do I think the markets will go this week? I have no idea, but logical places they could go would be higher to get some of the liquidity of these candles. And it could also move lower to test this moving average. We've had sort of a grinding move higher, so I wouldn't bet on it going down. When you want to buy lower, it often just keeps grinding higher, and it can be a little frustrating to trade. All right, hello, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Ask Neiman about my Roth. I will do that. Neiman, please tell me about her Roth. That's fantastic advice. I want to give everybody a disclaimer too. What I'm doing here is not financial advice. It is only my insights into how price moves. I have an understanding that price is always looking to match buy and sell orders. When you day trade, when you invest, price moves based on macro factors like the health of the economy, earnings, the story behind the company. Investing is a lot different than what I do on this stream on a daily basis, but I'll still go into things that I invest in just to show you that some of the concepts can still apply to things that you would want to hold long term. Yes, this is for entertainment purposes only. Welcome all to the live stream. Don't be shy to comment and ask a question. I've got thousands of hours of looking at the charts, and I've got some strategies and some things I believe in, and I try to implement them on my live stream every day to try to make money, basically trading the NASDAQ futures. Okay, so let's take a look at the 15-minute chart of the MNQ, which is the micro. We'll review the action from last Friday. I don't know why that's still in there. I can take that off. You can see last Friday, let's see, at the open, we had a real big bullish push, partly catalyzed by the 10 o'clock news, and it tested this pivot point, which is a key level. And price then rotated back down and sort of stayed in a choppy range for the balance of the session. Whenever you see price action like this on a 15-minute chart, you better beware. There were some good opportunities to be had, however. One thing that I was able to take advantage of was a double bottom. Let's see, right here. And then again, right here. The wrong one. Let's try that again. Yeah, when price tries to do something twice, it tends to reverse. So after price came down and tested this 200 EMA, it tried again, and I had a few good trades where price came and tested the VWAP. So those were nice. Let's see. So I had one of my viewers ask about Bitcoin. Now my only viewer. That's okay. There were more in here than ever. That's encouraging. Let's see what we have with Bitcoin. Let me open that up. Bye, Super T. Thanks for stopping in. Let's see. I'm glad you think so. Yeah, okay. You're right. Hey, okay. Lesson learned. I'll just let it flow. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Just gets me a little excited sometimes, you know. When you see a bigger number, it's a little exciting. All right, what was I talking about earlier? I was talking about market structure and swings. Bitcoin seems to have some pretty clean movement. This is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the line chart and see if we can detect some key major swing highs and lows. So you see about a year ago in the summer, it was in a nice bull channel, which broke out beautifully, and price eventually retested the EMA on the weekly chart, and it kept making higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. Finally tested this pivot point at this resistance level. And lately it's been a bit of a fall, but it's still above this last, what I would consider major swing low, which happened to test the moving average. And keep in mind, this is a weekly chart, so this is a big picture type of thing. So it still looks good to get long. If price were to go below here, you might have an issue. I'll show you this area I'm talking about. We want to see price continue to go up. I think the story on Bitcoin is still intact as far as it being an asset that is being promoted by big institutions, and being involved in more and more people's retirement accounts. A lot of people have a choice to invest in Bitcoin ETFs in their 401ks. What moving average? This is a 200 period moving average on the weekly chart for Bitcoin. So a good rule of thumb is when price is above the moving average, you're in a bullish phase, and when it's below, you can be in a bearish. But the caveat with that is that it's still above this major swing low. I'm sort of interested in seeing what a Fibonacci retracement looks like on this chart, and see if we're at any sort of support given the Fibonacci levels. What are Fibonacci levels? They're just mathematical levels that can provide key support or resistance. A lot of these mathematical programs that are run by huge institutions will enact self-fulfilling prophecies, and it's amazing the amount of times a Fibonacci level will do that. Yeah, let's see. I can do that. So let's look at it's updating. Wait, well, here we go. Settings, inputs. Actually, this is a 50 period. So a 50-week EMA. So this averages out the price action over each bar represents a week. So it takes the average and it calculates a moving average based on 50 weeks of data. So let's see what the Fibonacci retracement looks like for Bitcoin. It's actually quite a beautiful chart. I haven't looked at it in a while, and one of the people in the chat here wants to see it, so we're going to take a look at it. Let's see, Fibonacci retracement. When you draw a Fibonacci retracement, I've been told to do it from the body of the candle, from body to body, not from wick to wick. Some people do it from wick to wick. I find that wick to wick is better for extensions, but let's do it from body to body. So we're going to consider this green candle to be the start of this swing move, which broke above this price. and price kept going until it got to this resistance level on the pivot point, and then there's a retracement. So how much do you want to bet that there's a key Fibonacci retracement level right there? Let's take a look and see. I think the odds are pretty high. All right, we're going to draw it from there to there. Yeah, look at that. It got below the 71% level, which is a pretty deep discount, and actually hit the pivot point on Bitcoin. Came within a few points of hitting it. That's that orange line right there. And so if you had the nerve to go long somewhere around there, you would already be at a pretty good place. You could have taken a short-term tactical trade and bought around here and anticipated that price would test this moving average, and that's exactly what happened. That's one of my favorite reversal plays when that happens. But long term, I think that hey, how's it going? Hey, I know that guy. That guy is a very cool guy, very cool dude indeed. No, my anonymity. Well, you know how you get that back. Just read chapter 34, and you will get some anonymity. She doxed you, bro. What does that mean? Yes, sir. Let's go. We're just talking about Bitcoin. Checking out the checking out the weekly chart. So if I had to guess, and if I had a tactical trade on, I would anticipate a swing higher to take out the buy side liquidity of this bearish candle near the top of the move. You know, this would be a reasonable place to get long still. You know, it's still below the 50% retracement. It's still above this major swing low. And I think it makes sense that if it can especially get above this moving average, that at least it will test the top of this, which is about 121.9. So, yes, candles in the box. I'm the candle in the box. All right, another factor you might find interesting is some people like to see MACD crossovers. Now, down here on this pane, you will see these two lines, and you'll notice that when the blue crosses over the orange, price will tend to move up, and when the blue crosses under the orange, price will tend to move down. You see how that works? Blue above orange. So right here, it looks like we might be getting a bit of a convergence of MACD, and that's just another factor that may help precipitate a move higher. Yes, and so it's all about pattern recognition, and it's about mindset. Those are the two things. Yeah, you can always learn. One of the good things about this is if you're willing to learn and be patient with yourself, the markets are an amazing place of opportunity that we all have access to pretty much. It's one of the few businesses you don't need a lot of overhead for, to be honest. Yeah, I agree. Yes, when I started trading, I thought that it was all about charts and edges and everything. And while that's a key thing, the main thing is certainly psychology. There's no question. All right, we're going to go to another chart here. I was looking at Meta, and I find it to be an interesting stock for a few reasons. I think it's a leader in technology. I think it's a long-term good holding, and I think we might have just had a really good opportunity to get in on it. And here's something I didn't see earlier when I was marking up my chart. I was going to talk about gaps and how gaps like to get filled. So this is a weekly for Meta. And you'll notice back when we had the tariff tantrums back in March and April, Meta made a double bottom. That was a great place to get long. And it proceeded to rotate all the way back up to this buy side liquidity. So if you had the nerve to buy when it was touching, you wouldn't have known this was the trend line at the time, but if you just believed in Meta and you just wanted to get a little exposure and it tried to go down twice but it didn't, that would have been the part right there. You see it came down once, twice, and it looks like a butt. That's a double bottom. Anytime you see a double anything, whether, yeah, we can do rocket later. Anytime you see a double anything, double top, double bottom, the odds are high for a reversal. So during the middle of the tariff tantrum, Meta made a double bottom and proceeded to rotate all the way back up to this buy side liquidity. Sort of chopped around for a while, and then what happened here? Earnings made a big dump. And then what's interesting is you see this blue line that represents the place where a gap needed to be filled. And what did price do? It came and it filled that gap, and it looks like we might be heading back up again. We've also got that MACD looking like it wants to cross over. See that? Looks like the blue's about to go over the orange. If I were doing a short-term tactical play, I would anticipate Meta rotating higher and taking out this buy-side liquidity in this bear candle. Again, everyone who's here, this is not financial advice. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. Let's drill down a little bit into the chart, shall we? So this is the daily of Meta. So 150 daily. All right. I don't see a moving average on here, but that's okay. This is just a pure price action chart. This gives the detail of the double bottom I was just referring to. You see the butt. You see it came down. I guess Trump said something people didn't like, and then it popped up. And do you see how it filled that gap right there? It gapped down, down, down. It filled that gap, and then it made another bottom, and it started rotating back up toward this swing. Okay. Here in this bullish move, I want to show you another example of a gap fill. So I don't know what happened this day, but boy, did it shoot up. Okay, so it shot up like that, and then, you know, it kept going up a little, and then ultimately it came down and tested the wick of the place it shot up from. Yeah, gaps tend to be filled. So when you see a gap and it's going in the direction you want to be involved in, try to be patient, and more often than not, you can get a fill in the direction you think it'll go. So say it shot up here and you saw that gap and you waited until it tested the top of this candle. That would have been a nice little move back as price took the buy side liquidity. Okay. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. Yes, gap fills are very interesting. It's uncanny how patterns in charts and things in charts tend to happen over and over again. That's why I'm so fascinated by them. We all know what happened here. If you follow financial news or anything, this was their last earnings report. Look at that gap. Wow, it just got crushed. But look what happened after that. It filled this gap and didn't quite fill this one. Looks like it found some support around here because it started moving up again. And it looks like there's a lot of space to fill in this gap. This is the gap from earnings. If it were me and I'm looking at the big chart, prices now over this EMA. Yeah. So Zuck is quite a CEO, quite a visionary. The metaverse never came true, but I think the AI is going to be the thing for Meta. So in the short to medium term, I believe we get a rotation higher to at least the 753 area. That's about $80 higher. I would not be hesitant to make a short term trade on that. If I were to do that, I'd probably put a stop loss under this candle, probably around the 637 level. Someone one time asked, "What's a stop loss?" I can't remember who that was, but a stop loss is what you have so you don't lose everything. Because if you're wrong, you just have to accept it, and that helps keep your capital intact. Let's see. There was another request for a chart. I believe it was Rocket Mortgage. Let's see. I actually have my mortgage taken over by them now, so I pay them every month. Perhaps I should consider investing in Rocket Mortgage. Let's see. Wonder what the ticker is for Rocket Mortgage. Rocket. Got a ticker for Rocket Mortgage to help me out? Rocket. Is it Rocket Companies? Certainly not Rocket Lab Corp. Let's see. Rocket Mortgage. Waiting on some help from my friend Dr. Neiman. See if he can help me with some Rocket Mortgage. Oh, okay, RKT. Here we go. RKT. It is Rocket Companies. Okay. Take a look. All right. See what's going on with Rocket Mortgage. Look at the weekly first. See if we can glean any information. This must be a relatively new issue. Not a lot of history to go on. Right now, if you look at the overall context, it looks like it's right in the middle of a big range, but the recent action is certainly bullish. You look at what's been going on recently. You've got some higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, which respected this moving average. You had your MACD crossover, and let's see, got in at 1655. All right. Yeah, the EMA was about 16. Yeah, I mean, probably, if it can, my concern would be, is it closing above this 21 level strongly? Because the last time it encountered this level, look at the selling that happened. So there's some resistance around the 21 level. Yeah, I hope we have a rate cut. Just my mortgage payment alone should make the stock go up. I really hope that we get that rate cut in the works. That would be nice. Take a drink here. This is TradingView. TradingView is, in my opinion, the best. Well, it says my audio bit rate is lower. We recommend you use an audio stream of 128. I'll look at that in a moment. This is TradingView, and they offer free. You just don't get quite as many of the bells and whistles, but it's a great place to start. Very user friendly. I don't get paid. I don't get paid by them or anything. Maybe one day I can promote them or something, but I'll just tell you that if you're looking for a charting software that works, that's easy to use, that's highly customizable, TradingView is the way to go. Now, where were we? We were talking about Rocket Mortgage. Thank you, Doctor. So Rocket Mortgage, last time it visited around the 21 level. Okay, it sort of pulled back to the exponential moving average, and then it got a pop back up. So the question now is it going to continue and get back to this level and break through and seek liquidity up to 25, or is it going to stall out? Last week we did not have a bullish continuation. Last week was actually a bearish reversal candle. Get out now, Mr. Reynolds. Get out now. Don't wait for me to review it. Get out while it's liquid. That's my advice. But I'll still look at the chart. So you see that this candle from last week, this is how I look at the candles. The green ones are up candles. These gray ones are down candles. And so there were people who at the beginning of last week had orders to go long above this green candle, expecting it to continue. But through the week, selling came in, giving this a long wick on the top, and price closed around the low of the candle. So there's some selling pressure in Rocket Mortgage. Does that mean it'll go down this week? No. It just means that last week there was selling pressure. If it continues higher, a good place to enter would be above the high of this bearish candle, because that's where a lot of the bearish stop losses are. That's their pain point. So that would be a logical place to get long. If it continues lower, it could test this exponential moving average again. All right, we're going to check out SMX next. Got a request from the audience for some SMX. SMX. Security matters? Sure that's what it is? Let's see. Boy, I'm not going to be able to make any sense of this chart. This looks like some sort of penny stock or something with a reverse split. Am I right? Bet that's the case. This is an unconventional chart, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, I can't give an analysis on this except to say that it's obviously had a huge move the past couple of weeks for some reason. Yeah, I know that's what we call good fortune. If I were him, I'd get out now, or yesterday. Check this out. Now, could it keep going higher? Sure, it could, but what would be driving it higher? Is there a fundamental reason? Is it worth this much a share, or was it just a huge move to make all these shorts pay in the short term? That's the question. I can't make sense of this chart. Look at it. It ranged from 95 to 22, and then it's been in a huge bear move since. And so, yeah, it had a huge reversal the last few weeks, but obviously to me the trend is still down, and not knowing much about this, I really can't say. Any other tickers we want to look at? That's the SMX chart. What is that thing? It makes no sense. Yeah, I would get out. Now, you know what? You don't have to get all out. I don't know how many shares he has, but tell him to hold on to just a few, just in case it keeps going higher. To 4 million a share, which is where the moving average is. Not likely, but what if that happened? What if you had 5 shares, and they went up to that post-split price of about 4 million a share. That would be insanity, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, just tell them to get out mostly. In fact, that chart is so bogus. I'm going to delete it from my trading view. I don't want anybody coming after me for that. It's too ugly. All right, we're going to close out this window. Hood. Well, yes. I talked about Hood last week. Hood is one of my favorites. Let's see how Hood's been doing. For those who don't know, Hood is not referring to someone who lives in a bad part of town. We're referring to Robin Hood. Last week on my stream, I discussed the potential for price to get out of this bull flag with the expectation of it rotating higher. And last week it seemed to have had I'd say overall bullish candle, although I would have liked to have seen it had closed at the top. But it was all in all bullish. We're still in an uptrend. I think the long-term story on this one is intact. I believe that in the next few years let's just say next year and a half, we could see 300 a share, so more than a doubling from where we are now, easily. And why do I say that? Well, in this year alone, from April to September, look at this bullish move we've had. So after it consolidates a little bit, yeah, it's a beautiful bull flag. Yeah, it's what we discussed last week on the stream. Yes, it's a gorgeous bull flag. If it breaks out decisively, you can expect a measured move that's about equal to the length into the bull flag. Let's make that a little easier to see. So let's say that was the start of the bull flag. I would expect a measured move if it breaks out to somewhere around, call it the 372 level, which is even higher than my 307 level. Yeah, measured moves. You have to realize that price is driven by institutions. We have nothing to do with price. When we look at a chart, we're seeing what big players are doing. And they're only going to trade if they're really, really confident they're going to have profits. And so these programs that they run have certain price targets. And so when they institute a move to a certain level and it consolidates, the next leg up, they want to basically have another leg to guarantee even more profits. And if everything lines up like the story of the stock, the macro factors, these things just make sense because the programs are designed to take price to certain levels. And so you can see in this accumulation phase, all these were institutions accumulating. And so they were getting shares at a price between $7.19 a share, and when it first was issued, these are the suckers who bought it at the IPO. So those weren't institutions, but when it got down here, you can bet institutions started accumulating it, and then they want to run it higher so that they can make their profits. And a measured move is just a program-based price move to a logical level. And in this case, it's based on distance. So it's the distance from when price began going into this flag. And so when it finally does break out of the flag, it's likely to be an approximately equal distance out of the flag. So you can see measured moves happen on day trading charts too. In fact, they're a little more predictable on the shorter term time frame charts, because on a shorter term time frame, price is just looking to match buy and sell orders and test key levels constantly. So That's why I like these mathematical levels, because they're proven and they work over and over again. Let's see, is that Home Depot? We're gonna look at Home Depot and call it a day, but I'll be happy to look at Home Depot if that's what it is. Okay, Home Depot. The Home Despot. At the current chart, surely it's been trading longer than that. That data only goes back to 2022. I'm not sure that's the right chart. Let me try another variety. Yeah, you're right. You're right. If rates do drop, then people are more likely to spend money on their homes. That's a good thesis. That's a good story. Stories are important. Okay, here we go. I think I was looking at the wrong exchange. There we go. That's what we want. That's got a lot of history. However, I don't want it on that chart. That's a little scary to me. Not the dollar index. Where's my VIX? Got to get things set. Where did my VIX go? I just delete my VIX. Hold on a second. VIX. Gotta have my VIX. There. All right, now to the Home Depot. All right, where are we, Home Depot? Here we go. Man, what if you had invested in the Home Depot in the 80s when it first came out? Look at that. Like, was that like 3 cents a share? Look at that. It just held. What if you forgot you owned it and you woke up like 50 years later and then it was now currently $3.40 a share? You'd probably be feeling pretty comfortable about your financial future, wouldn't you? Okay. Home Depot. Looks like a rangy stock to me. Show you what I see. Here's what I see. See an area of resistance right there. And I see a few different support levels. I see an area of support right here. And more recent area of support. And more important, because when things are more recent, they're more relevant. Right there. So I think that if you consider this recent range, let's look at this. I think that you're still in the lower half of the range, and you can expect a rotation higher to this resistance level at about 420. I wonder if Super T asks, I wonder what happens to insurance stocks since it's almost the new year. You talking about health insurance? I think they perpetually go up until they get reined in by politicians who have an interest in serving their constituents. Other than that, I think they're perpetual money machines. So with that, it's basically an idea of do you think anybody's going to come along and make the U.S. like a lot of the rest of the world? Yeah, like, do you think that the U.S. will join the rest of the world in having, a more uniform health care that's basically government based and a lot, quote unquote, lower cost, although you can debate the cost of that different ways depending on which side you're on? Or do you believe that these insurance companies who have the best lobbyists in the business and our for-profit entities will continue to pay these lawmakers to let them have a stranglehold on an industry? And cynically, I would expect that what's been happening will keep happening. So I'd say that if you want to get one for a long-term holding, you can't really go wrong. Let's look at United Healthcare. That's their one that comes to mind. Let's see. United Healthcare. There we go. Let's see. United. Oh, wrong one. United Health Group. Yeah, look at the long-term chart of United Health Group. So what do you notice every time there's a big dip? It's like people scoop it up. I think this is still a good opportunity to scoop some up. And from a technical basis, it's got a lot of ways to go. Like you could buy some and target the top of this bear candle, which is about 586 a share. And if you were to go long, I would probably have a stop loss under this candle at about 318 because it could very well. We talked about earlier that double bottom. It could make another attempt at a bottom. So it would be aggressive to enter now. A more rational thing to do would be to wait to see if price tests this level and forms another butt, which is the double bottom. So remember, we had that. And then what if price comes and tests down here again? And then the bears who try to yeah, I know. And then the bears who try to push it down will get frustrated, and you'll have your double bottom, and that's a very, very high probability long opportunity when you have a double bottom. But that hasn't happened yet. I'm just saying what could happen. Price could test here, and then that would be a great move, a great opportunity to go long. Yeah, Dr. Newman going long. Let me guess, did he go long about 588? And that must have been what instituted the drop. He picked United and they didn't Mirandize him. What does that mean? Are you still long and strong, Doctor? All right, good. Well, wait till it makes a double bottom. Look at this. It might even come and test this key swing. Boy, would that be a place to get long. In fact, I'm going to put an alert right there for myself. Super T, one of the cool things that one of the things that well, my view, I made it all myself. This is all custom, man. You can't download it. This is custom Mr. Joseph trades. But Super T, one of the cool things about this is you can set alerts, and when it triggers, if it's something interests you, like long term, you just set an alert like I'm doing right here. I won't be greedy. I would be interested if it tested this one. So I'm going to add an alert about 240. And if and when price hits that again, it'll send me a message. Then I'll consider going long with the expectation of a rotation up to about the 590 level. That would be a sweet buy. So thank you. Well, guys, it's been about an hour. We've covered lots of charts. We've talked about market swings. We've talked about liquidity. We've advised Mr. Reynolds not to be greedy, which I hope he heeds that advice. We've uncovered some lurkers who thought they were here secretly, which is, it's always good to expose the lurkers. I appreciate that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read a little bit, and I'm going to get a little something to eat and hit the sack, because guess what tomorrow is? It's a new day of market opportunity. And I've got to be here at 9:15 in the morning to trade these charts. So until next time, I'll